Let's get some more details on the bill signed in Kiev today. Let's talk to Anna van Densky, a political commentator from the EU Reporter magazine. Anna, so good to see you today. Thanks for coming on. The ceasefire holding and these agreements now being implemented. Do you think this could be the beginning of the end of the Ukrainian conflict?
Well, it could be, but I'm very cautious because we have, now it's a declaration, basically. We have to see the implementation. That's the serious thing, because the Ukrainian state is in a profound crisis, and President Poroshenko is largely president of Kiev. So the problem is, if he really has power to implement these declarations, to implement this bill, and that we will see in coming weeks, because Ukrainian state is so weak at the moment, and there are so many forces which are unleashed and they're out of control. So we can't really say if these agreements, this step towards peace will be respected on the grounds.
Well, as you say, Anna, it is a step towards peace here in its early days yet. And I know I'm asking you to speculate here, but what exactly do you think the special status could mean in reality, considering Kiev's refusal to acknowledge the regions as independent?
Well, I think that there is a big problem. First of all, there are more layers here. There is an international layer, a layer of a global geopolitical game, because as we know, the United States is very eager to move its infrastructure and to engage Ukraine into NATO. This is one level. The other level is the level of the European Union. They have their own interests because they are seeing Ukraine as a competitor of their agricultural products. So they're interested to conquer Ukrainian markets and to trade with Russia directly. So there are also different interests of political groups within the Ukraine, because as we knew before and as we know now, there are political groups even like Christian Democrats who are fighting with each other. So our Ukrainian state resembles somehow medieval state with a lot of political clans that are fighting with each other. And of course, there's this terrible monster of nationalism that was born at Maidan Square. So if you look at all these different forces that are tearing the country in different directions, it's very difficult to predict how really it will go on, how they will develop, and if really there is this centralized force, if there is a real state behind it to implement these intentions, because now I take it as an intention. We are very far away from real peace, because real peace will be on the grounds, and what we hear from there, they are still fighting, they are still shelling, so it's no ideal ceasefire we expected it to be.
Right, as you say, it's a step in the right direction, perhaps a gesture from Kiev, that the parliaments of both the EU and Ukraine have ratified an association agreement. Kiev says it'll come into force in 24 hours, but Brussels says not until late 2015. I mean, we're getting really mixed signals here. How do you read that?
Well, I think that here the crucial force is, of course, Europe, because Europe is initiator of this policy and Europe is the major source of this conflict. Because, as we know, President Yanukovych lost power because he said exactly what European Union is saying now, that it's too early because the whole sectors of economy would suffer if this association agreement would be implemented immediately. So what happens now, basically, it's a very frustrating experience, because we see that President Yanukovych was actually chased away for nothing, because what he said was absolutely right. The country is not ready, because nobody wants to see among 45 million of Ukrainians, half of population unemployed. So Europe was very adventuristic in its policies, and now it's very clear that the paradox of this policy is that there was a huge ambition to show that Europe is very much desirable, and they wanted to give some result to Europeans to show, look, Ukrainians are so eager to become part of Europe. But what is in reality? Ukraine is a state which is bankrupt, they have huge sovereign debt, and basically nobody is going to pay the reforms, because the reform of the country to make it feasible, this relationship with Europe, is very far away, and we don't know who can pay the reforms, because still they should serve their sovereign debt. So there are a lot of problems, but I think that still it's a happy day in the sense that we see that country is moving into a right direction.
All right, Anna van Densky, political commentator from the EU Reporter magazine. Thank you very much indeed for your time today. Thank you.
Welcome.